Hello everyone, it's Dom here from Esports News UK. I'm joined by a very special guest today who's flown a long way to the UK. It's Faye Mata.
Hi!
Voice actor. You've done the voice of Lulu in League of Legends.
I have. Lulu in League of Legends and many more.
And many, many more. Obviously my background is League of Legends, but you've done Street Fighter, A.K.I, Petra from the Fire Emblem games. I'm a big fan of Fire Emblem. Welcome to the UK. What's it like to be here at Insomnia?
Thank you. It's really cool to be here at Insomnia. I've never done a UK convention before. Well, that's not true. I came here for Pokemon Worlds last year, but this is my first time working a convention here as a voice actor. Because I did some creator stuff last year with Pokemon. But I also am a voice actor in Pokemon now. And I'm a big I was always a big fan of Pokemon. I grew up on Pokemon. So to be in the video games and then to be in the anime is just like a huge deal to me. It's a dream come true. And I only announced this last month or 2 months ago, something like that.
I was going to say.
That's pretty recent.
I haven't done my research very well because I didn't realise the Pokemon link. I'm a big fan of Pokemon as well, and my son, he's nearly 7 years old, playing the new games. Which character is it you're in Pokemon?
So, my first ever Pokemon role was in Detective Pikachu the game. I played Chandelure, Lapras, Snubbull, Pansage, and a bunch of other Pokemon. But it was just like saying the Pokemon names, and honestly back then I was like, I'll take it, that's all I want, that's great. But then I ended up as all three nurses at the front of Pokemon Masters, the mobile game. And I was like, okay, all these, and of course, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful, but I was like, you know, it'd be really cool to be in the anime. I grew up on the anime. And then the end of last year, I ended up as a side episodic character in one episode as Malta in Pokemon Master Journeys. And I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm happy with being someone in the anime and working on the games. But this year, I got to audition for the brand new Pokemon anime because the last one just ended, Ash's Journey. Yes. Ash's Journey of like so many years. And so I was like, oh, well, they're ending the anime, it's over. And that was it, like that was my one chance. And I'm so grateful that I got to be in it. Then they announced a brand new one, and I got to audition for that, and I got cast as one of the main characters. So I'm still like over the moon about it. It's not even out yet, but we're recording it right now, and it's just really cool.
It's amazing because I saw you're doing sign-ins, you're doing meet and greets here today. You've got amazing pictures of the different characters you voice, and I'm thinking, is that the Pokemon? Like the Halloween Chandelure, the Chandelure, like you say. So what's it like to voice that? Because that's like, you know, I don't know what the noise that Chandelure makes, but I'm guessing it's some kind.
If you want.
Yeah, go for it, yeah. All
right. Well, so the noise that Chandelure makes in Detective Pikachu, where I voiced it, was Shishandi. and it was a process to come up with, you know, what should Chandelure sound like? I'm like, well, it's a little ghastly. So maybe a little ethereal, but also it's a little swingy because it's a Chandelure. So yeah, we came up with Shishandi.
I love it. It reminds me of the original Charmander a little bit. Obviously different.
Like Charmander.
Oh, actually no, sorry. Yeah, I'm really bad. Yeah. But that sort of high pitched. You know,
yeah.
Incredible the range you have. And talking of high pitched characters, you know, League of Legends is my background. I've been writing about UK League of Legends for a good 8 years now, and you know, to voice one of the most iconic characters we've got in Lulu, you know, and Lulu is played at a high level. Lulu has been kind of meta for a while. We have shout out to Cassing, one of the UK's top support players, likes a lot of Lulu. What was it like voicing Lulu? Because that was a while ago now, right? In League of Legends, that's one of the earliest characters.
So Lulu is actually one of my first ever professional roles. I think actually my second professional role, but my first like well-known one ever. And I played League of Legends before I actually got cast as Lulu. So I knew exactly what that laugh would be used for. I'm like, okay, I want to make a laugh that is, you know, maybe endearing for the player, but absolutely like just annoying for the other players. just a little bit of trolling, you know. I am a League player at heart. So, the audition sides were something like a cross between Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter and Rarity from My Little Pony. So that originally
Came off something like this. A solid giggle should do the trick. Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
And then, but that laugh.
You're going to give us a laugh.
I did a snort for fun. I actually asked them, can I just, can I throw in a little snort? And they were okay with it. They were just like, sure, try it. And then sometimes you just do this when you're recording stuff, and then you can keep it.
How did you know when you first knew you'd get into voice acting? Because, the range of your voice, one of the reasons I don't do a lot of video content, or I've been a little bit slow getting into video content and I like my written content, is because I feel like I have a bit of a monotone voice. When did you first figure out you wanted to be a voice actor? It's I think some people must look at it and think, oh, I could do that. Actually, the voice actors I've interviewed, Neil Newborn last year, it's a real craft. And, I'm interested to see your process, how you got into it and how you approach it.
Well, okay, first of all, I really think that anyone can use their voice to do voiceover. And there's many different types of voiceover. Even a monotone voice, like you could be known for that monotone voice. You could have a huge range and people will still want, a certain specific range that is only in your own natural timbre. And I think that's what's fascinating about it, and something that I had to learn over time, actually, because when I first started out, I was all about, imitating things and doing cute archetype, imitations. But that's not really acting. It's not making it your own. So it's just interesting. Like at first, I was cast a lot as this high pitched roles, like Lulu, for example. And over time, I got to be able to show off that I can do more than that. I can do more. I got to be in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, this anime, and got to use a lower voice, and that was a lot cooler. Like she sounded like, "You love me, right, Koichi?" She was crazy. And Aki now in Street Fighter, she's really creepy. What does she sound like? I need to think of what the lines are.
Yeah, it's like I'm interviewing a different person. You bring out these different characters. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I haven't actually played Street Fighter 6 yet, so I'm not.
Oh, it's okay. She's not out yet, so they just announced her. Yeah, so even at this convention, she's not advertised anywhere because between us, making the contract and me getting here and all that, I think only, what is the date today?
9th of September.
9th of September.
Yeah.
So on the 2nd of September or so, maybe just before that, Aki was announced.
Right, so you're brand new.
Brand new. And, so I need to make sure I answer your first question because I want to go on a tangent off how excited I am about Street Fighter. But what did you ask me? You asked me what is my process for acting?
How you got into it and how you knew.
How did I know?
You do that.
Yeah. So honestly, I'm a big gamer. I love playing video games, and I grew up on the GameCube and even 64 with my siblings. And there's 4 players playing the same game at the same time, and we just yell at each other, not in a playful way, because we're on the same couch or on the floor or whatever, and we're just having fun, imitating the voices of characters, even going yeah, ha, what the heck, ah, whatever it is, whatever the game is, we're just having fun, and you kind of train yourself with your voice in that way. I know it sounds a little silly, but when you're using your voice, and you're strengthening it. So we just had the whole range of imitating characters, but also I was in choir at school, and I was also, I don't know, I'm the kind of person that meows at cats. Right, and why not? I'll be there and people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm training to be a voice actor. No, I didn't say that actually. I just kind of did it, so that's a little bit crazier.
Oh, that's super fun. It must be amazing for your family back then to have played games with you. Were they doing the voices as well? Did they recognise us?
They did it. And I guess, how do I say this? It's not really, I never really grew up saying, I want to be a voice actor. I just knew that I enjoyed this and it was a passion of mine. So the first time I actually ended up in the professional industry was I went to a convention. And I lined up in this gigantic line, not knowing exactly what it was for. And the line closed 3 people behind me. And I find out it's a voice acting competition.
So by accident?
By accident.
You went in?
Yeah, well, so throughout the halls, it was like this. Throughout the halls, you could hear, like, yeah, I'll take you down, or whatever it is. Just people yelling into a microphone. And I didn't know what that was, but I saw this long line and I just got into it. And I asked the person in front of me, like, what is this exactly? What is this? This is kind of cool, kind of crazy. But also, like, if there's a long line, naturally you're just a little bit curious. Like, is it good food? Is it, I don't know, is it someone famous? Like, I want to know what's going on here. And so, yeah, I get to the front and there's like 6 or so little pieces of paper with a character's picture and then a few different lines with different emotional intent. And I got to perform one of the characters. And the casting director liked me. And then it was like the whole thing was you could be in a real anime. And yeah, I mean, it's taken a lot of twists and turns, but from there I was contacted while I was at EVO, a big fighting game tournament, the biggest fighting game tournament in the world. I got a call and they were like, Faye, you're one of our callbacks. You are one of our winners from the Anime Expo voice acting competition. And I was like, huh? I can't hear you. They joked about that with me later, saying like, I didn't really sound grateful or excited at all. And I was very excited, but I just did it. I couldn't hear and I didn't know at the time. But yeah, it was like a dream come true. I got into the studio. They had me read off of a bunch of different types of character archetypes, or like different age ranges, like be a little girl, be a little boy, be an old grandma, now be a very angry orc, whatever it was. I tried to give them the paints, and then they knew, oh, okay, Faye can do these types of characters. In the future, we'll send auditions in this range and then see if she can book some roles.
Brilliant. And that the fact that you were at EVO, I think you've got an interesting background because you do the voice acting, but you've had an esports background, right? So were you at EVO competing? Because as I understand it, you competed in Pokken and Smash Brothers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. See, this is an entirely different interview that I could take forever on, so I'm going to try to keep it short. But I am very, very passionate about competitive gaming and esports. I love, like, I hosted my own Smash tournaments even, and I love everybody getting together in a community. So I'll focus on Pokken because that'll be easier. Yeah. So when I first started playing Pokken, it was just like, I love Pokken, or I like Pokemon, and I like fighting games.
Is that wrong to call it Pokken?
I think it's however you want to say it.
In the UK we say Pokemon, some of us, but it's
Pokemon.
Pocky,
Yeah. It just, I mean, I know the official way because I get corrected in the booth for the anime, and it's Pokemon. Yeah. Pokemon. It has to be A, but when it comes to Pokken, no one's ever corrected me on that. I've always said Pokken because I didn't really work on that. But yeah, so for Pokken, I was just like, I like Pokemon and I like fighting games. So what if I just, play this game for fun? I'm so busy doing schoolwork or whatever it was at the time. So I just played it, and I played it a lot, and they had this ranking system inside the game. So I just kept playing it, and I got pretty good. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, you really like this game, don't you? Did you know that they're having some locals? Like, it was still like a 3-hour drive, but there's a local that people go to every week here. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I guess I'll check it out sometime. And I checked it out, and it was just like a whole new world for me. You're an esports guy, so you understand this very well. When you find your tribe at a tournament, it's just like nothing else. I mean, I guess it's like finding your tribe. I met a lot of people who were so nice, and we all played the same game, and I was inspired to like get better because you see other people who also want to get better. And they're like, hey, you're pretty good. Will we see you next week? And I was like, you know, I think I will. I'll be back next week. And then the next week, and then the next week, and the week after that. And then suddenly I was doing the entire circuit around the US. And then I went to Japan, and I met the players there playing Pokken at the arcade machines, because they had the arcade machines at the time and had tournaments there. And then at EVO that year, I think it was 2016, people from Japan, people from Europe, and NA all came together and played Pokken at EVO. But I was the only one that knew the Japanese players, so I got to introduce them to everybody else, and we all kind of had a nice dinner, and it was amazing. And so it was beyond just playing the game. It was like, this is a family. It's wonderful. And I wish that everybody could find this kind of experience.
That's it. I mean, I have it here with the UK League of Legends lot, but also, you know, I want to shout out to the fighting game community in particular, because it is like a family. Yeah. We've got some great Street Fighter, Tekken players from the UK, you know, from London, and I love that. Problem X has won an EVO, I think, back in 2018. It is like a family. Yeah. Sometimes that can be used as a bit of a cliche, but from what I've seen from the fighting game community, yeah, they compete on stage, but then they'll have a friendly chat afterwards, and they're exchanging tips with each other on Twitter or X or whatever it is now.
Is this how you got into it as well?
Well, I got
doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like,
you found your family too in esports.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
My niche is UK esports, because 8-9 years ago I was getting into League of Legends. I realised there were no other publications really covering the UK. So I was like, well, I'm going to do that.
That's
then.
Brilliant. And you get to share all of this with everybody who's also interested in the space, right?
Yeah, and now you're here. I mean, you've flown all the way from LA, is it, to be here?
Yeah, well, so the last place I was at was Seattle, and before
Seattle.
that was LA, but only for 2 days, because before that I was in Japan for 3 weeks, and it's been a lot. I don't know what time it is anymore, to be honest. But you know, I've trained to be on crazy hours all my life because I've been a gamer.
Yeah. Well, it seems like your natural sort of, you know, you found your feet in esports, in voice acting, in games. You know, so it's great to have you here. I can see there's someone in your line waiting patiently.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and crack through the last few questions. You mentioned A.K.I. and Street Fighter.
Yes.
Did you want to give us a line from that, or are you getting in the zone, or?
So she's all over. With A.K.I. Aki, she has 3 different modes. She has this like straight talking, deep voice analytical mode. It's kind of like this, and she'll name off all the ingredients in something, because she's very intelligent, highly intelligent, but it has like kind of this assassin mode. And then another one is she's crazed about her master, and she gets a little different like that, like, Master, I'm doing this for you! And then the other mode, what's the other mode? Oh, I guess a little bit flirty, but kind of like seeming more innocent to lure and prey. Right. She doesn't really care about anybody else but herself and her master, and she puts her master above her even. Right. So she's a very interesting character. Yeah.
You need to teach me how I can project my voice. I feel like my voice is pathetic. Standing next to you, how you project it like that, you know, it's
cheering at esports events.
Yeah. I need to do more of that. Maybe my voice has got frail because I've been to so many esports events and football events, and I've lost my voice a little bit. Faye, before you go, someone asked on Twitter, on X, what's your favourite voice line? Is there something or a character that stood out for you over the years? I mean, you've done so many. It must be hard to pick.
It is very hard to pick. I don't really have a favorite voice line, because there's, I will just say, like, as a cop-out answer, every character I voice, I put a little bit of myself into it, and I go on a whole journey with them. And I've always, like, mentioning the gaming stuff, I've always had a passion for this, and I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, but there's a little bit of me in all of them. And the writing itself is not even written by me, but by other people. But different actors could read the same line in different ways. So every line you hear from me, it is like delivered in the way that I would say it personally, combined with a director. I can't think of a good like fun. I'll just say a Lulu line. It's not my favorite, but people just like this.
Hugify!
Amazing. Now, Faye, I wanted to talk to you about some of the initiatives you've worked on, Girls in Games things. Now, there were quite a few, so forgive me because I've forgotten some of the names, but tell us about that and I guess the importance of that because, you know, EXO Esports are over here. They just announced an EE power-up thing, which is like trying to get women Valorant players to become a pro player for them.
That's so cool.
Campaigns like that. What are your thoughts on that kind of thing and the importance of it? Because there are some women out there that say, hey, we don't want special treatment, we don't want women's only leagues, but then there are many others that's like, hey, we value the safe space for now, and like we've just had a team called the Lions Creed Lionesses in the UK who have qualified for a mixed League of Legends tournament, the UKEL here, and I did an interview with them and they were saying, you know, this is important to show other women who may be a bit fearful going into a mixed tournament that, hey, it's okay, we're doing it, and you can do it too. I know that was a very long intro, but I feel like it's an important topic.
This is going to be its own video, let me tell you. Let me grab a water real quick.
Yeah, no problem. You need to top up.
I do.
This weather, by the way,
so warm.
in a way, I know it's very hot, but in a way you're lucky because we don't get weather like this in the UK very often.
Really?
No.
This
This is good for the UK, yeah.
All right. Well, okay. Where do I start with this? I'll start with my own personal experience.
Okay.
So, when I hosted tournaments, I just did it because actually, no, I'll take it back even further, okay? My first tournament ever, I was in school. The boys were having a Smash tournament, and I heard about it, and I played Smash all the time at home. I think it was for Melee, I don't know. But I just played it a lot. And I was like, hey, can I join your tournament? And they all laughed. They were like, you? And guess who won that tournament? Yeah, it was me. But
I bet they weren't laughing after that.
no, they weren't. In fact, okay, so the organizer of the tournament was like, okay, well, you can't beat my big bro. We were kids, okay? We got to give everybody a pass. They were children.
Okay, context.
Yeah, context. Everyone was a child.
Yeah.
And I just to keep it short, I beat their big brother too. But yeah, I mean, it felt good because they were making fun of me before that. I was like, you really don't believe in me, and this was like my first experience, like trying to share this shared, like, how do I say this? I was very shy as a kid. I grew up in Wisconsin in the U.S. Everybody else was Caucasian. We were like the only Asian family there. And I was pretty shy. And a lot of other girls weren't like, I didn't have a lot of the same interests, you know. And I feel like a lot of people that work professionally in this industry these days actually have a similar story of like, yeah, I mean, I was a gamer, and, you know, people were of games or they were not. But for me, I did feel a little bit isolated, so it was a risk I was taking to even ask some guys if I could play a game with them because it sounded fun. Like, oh, that makes my ears perk up. I want to play Smash. And then to be laughed at in the face. So, yeah, that was hurtful, you know? But it felt like justice to win. It felt like very satisfying. But I also did make friends with them after that.
Right.
And then there was this whole thing where, you know, they all started having crushes because it was like, we were babies. It was just that age. And that was weird.
You still get that in esports now. Some people say that's one of the problems of esports.
Yeah.
People like Fnatic just a few years ago have said they did their esports book a while back, why they don't have mixed, well, they had a rule why the players, the girlfriends and partners weren't allowed to visit them in the gaming houses. It had to be
Because they were
guys are distracted. Like, and you know, it's a tough one because if you are interested in someone, maybe you are going to get distracted. You know, when I first met my wife, yeah, I wasn't maybe thinking about other things as much as I would do. So I can hear both sides, but it's a tricky area.
Split, sure.
Yeah.
But every human is a human, you know, and I think esports was definitely growing, and I mean, even right now it's growing a lot and going through a lot of changes and a lot of learning. And there weren't a lot of girls in the space before. Now it's a lot more prominent, and I think that has a lot to do with, the marketing, the developers thinking like what, how could we be more inclusive and things like that. But for my small slice of this way back when, noticing that, not a lot of girls were showing up at my tournaments. If they did, they were like someone's girlfriend maybe. And I was like, why don't you play too? It'd be fun. And they were like, I don't know. It's not really for me. That's kind of like a boy thing, not like what I do. And I'm like, I love this. That's why I hold this at all. And, oh gosh, I have so many stories. I'll make this short one.
Okay.
One time, I went to a tournament with some friends, and we did not win in this tournament, but like most tournaments, you go back and you have fun, you see the same people, you try to get better, and we were holding our controllers when we went to a boba shop, and at this boba shop, there was a girl running the counter, and she asked us why we were holding controllers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to tell you all about what happened. Yeah, so we were at this tournament, we were playing Smash Bros, and like this and that happened, didn't win, but it was really close, and I was just telling her about, like, I was clearly just very excited. And she looked at me like, wow. And I was like, oh, is she interested? And she was like, the first thing she said was, I didn't know that girls played like that. I didn't know that was even a thing that we could do. And to me, that was everything. I mean, it was just like, how do I say this? Not everything. It was like a really cool moment of like, oh, I just like informed someone. And that was like a small moment for me, right? It was just like, okay, yeah, had a nice interactive interaction. But what made that huge was 2 years later at an event, a girl comes up to me, and I don't recognize her at first, but she's like, Faye, right? Because you told me about that tournament, I went and checked out the scene, and you were right. Like, it was really fun. I found a community, and they helped me out, and I got pretty good. I've been going weekly for like the last 2 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had personally disappeared, so like I didn't even know that this happened. But it's just so fascinating. What I guess people just don't know what they don't know, and sometimes when people think that a certain hobby or whatever it is just for a certain type of person, you don't even think to like go and do it. So I realized, it's not even about, actually, okay, hold on. Let me think about how to say this. I think word of mouth is one thing, but actually demonstrating the passion, doing it yourselves, people seeing it, makes a huge difference. So, as you know, I'm a voice actor, but when I'm a voice actor going to these conventions, they ask, what kind of panels do you want to do? Of course, there's the typical AMA, but one of the panels that I often do, unfortunately not here, which is surprising because it's a gaming convention, but a panel that I often do is try to beat Faye Mata at Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I sit up on a stage, and people challenge me 1v1, and as they come up, I have like a little fist bump with them, little chat like, hey, what's your name? Who do you play? Whatever. And it's just like a nice moment, and then we try to beat each other. And if they beat me, then they win an autographed print, and they're happy. But some of these, nobody ever beats me. And my handler, Nicole, can attest. It's really fun for a few reasons. I tell them straight up at the very beginning, hey, I'm not going to go easy on anybody, and this is out of respect for you as a gamer. It's very important for me to say that because I don't want to look at a child or a girl or like whatever the stereotypes are and then just predetermine like I'm going to go easy on you because of what you look like, And it goes however it goes. And at the end, they had an experience. And someone told me like, that was really cool to see because we never see girls like actually kicking butt like that. Like a woman doing this, like a few different things. You're a woman kicking butt on stage. 2, you're a voice actor, but you're playing games with us? That's really cool. And to me, it's like, so I mentioned I grew up pretty shy, so it's weird to be doing this now. But over time, I kind of learned like if I'm going to have attention on me anyway, I want to be a good role model. So my role in that is like, I will just show people this. So like, if there's a little boy who sees this, and it's not a big deal, it's like they just see this girl's winning, they won't have this bias that all women or all girls suck at video games or whatever it is. It's just like they are now exposed to that, because I think the bias, it's not intentional that people are rude, it's just they're really just not exposed to it oftentimes, or you know, they make friends with more people who are just like them. I could go on about it for a long time.
Tell us about the programs.
Yes, of course.
There were 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that were not listed online, but one of my favorites is Girls Who Code. And for this, it's to inspire more girls to get into coding, which leads to developing, which leads to, you know, making more video games with, you know, different perspectives. But what this does is it exposes girls to like, is this something of interest to you? It's something that funds a program where after school, it's like a free program for them to learn how to code. And I think that's really cool, because it's one thing to shove something down anyone's throat of like, oh, you have to learn this, like we need more of this, so come on over here. It's just a natural discovery of like, this is a free after school thing. If it's for you, you'll like it, you'll continue. If it's not, then you won't continue. It's kind of like what I said before of like, are you exposed to it or are you not? And when you are exposed to it, does that hook you? And that's what I like. Like, I love supporting things like that, where it makes it easier for people to discover their passion in this.
That's it.
And grow it from there.
That these things exist,
exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And I'm a firm believer of like, you know, rather than preach to everybody, go there and be the person that doesn't exist yet, so that other people can see that exists.
Be the difference you want to see and all that
Sure,
stuff.
yeah,
You know, I have a young girl. She's 3.5. I want her to grow up and be able to have, you know, all these opportunities, the same that boys have and men have as well. You know, and be equal. Equality for me and diversity is very important. Unfortunately, you know, it comes with, shout out to Hannah, who does some stuff for me as well around Apex Legends, you know, and she made it clear to me and had the viewpoint that there is tokenism in the industry as well. Some people will jump on board and say, oh, we're doing a women in esports tournament because, yeah, and I don't always see that there's a good enough, I don't know, like, reason for them, or it's not genuine. That's the word I'm thinking of. It's not always genuine.
Now,
you know, that's important to get that. Thank you for holding the microphone.
Oh, of course. So I do see different perspectives on this, and I've had many conversations about this over the years. And I even used to be in the camp of like, I mean, my own perspective has changed many times, where I used to be, you know, one of the boys, one of the people who told me, you're not like other girls, and that was something to take pride in for some reason. And, you know, it's silly, because let me start with this. Sorry, I keep going off track, but like in a group of friends back then, they might be like, oh yeah, he's the smart one, he's the athletic one, he's the funny one, she's the girl, and it was like give everybody, you know, things that they're known for. But why is the girl always, they're the girl and they're not also the smart one or also the athletic one or something like that? But what that does is that it creates an identity for that person of like, you're the girl. So if another girl comes along, they're immediately a threat to their own identity in a group. And that's so silly. I've seen it so many times in esports where they're like, oh, you're a girl that plays this character or whatever, and another girl comes along, and guys are always like, oh, you guys need to play each other and see who's a better girl. How ridiculous is that, right?
In League of Legends, there's you know, some people, it can be a toxic thing. People assume women players will play supports. Lulu, Enchantresses, you know, and we've seen that. And I mentioned Cassing earlier, that, you know, it shouldn't be that divide. We now have women's tournaments where you see really good, like Vixie's one of the best UK historically, like mid laners. Zoe, Ari, really good, and she does streaming now, but that bugs me seeing that as well. Oh, you're the girl, go and play support.
People are always relegated to playing that role because they're like, oh, well, I mean, this, and I would even argue support isn't like the easiest role to play. It's just like what people think women should play. I don't know, but we won't get into that. My point is, back then, I think my mindset as well has grown over time, where like I always wondered why were people so catty sometimes, and I think that kind of explains it. Where like, you know, the people around you, even if you think you're not doing anything wrong by saying like it's a compliment, like you're one of the guys or you're not like other girls, like what does that even mean? That's just putting down more girls. Or like, and even women say that to other women, like, yeah, you can really hang, you're like a bro. And it's just silly. But yes, sometimes people don't like when they feel tokenized because they're like, oh, it's for women only. But I think there's different camps. Like, so in my first tournaments, when the only girls that ever showed up were girlfriends of people, they needed something easy to get into, like something that felt more like a safe space. That was like, hey, no one's gonna judge you, no one's gonna like stomp on you or whatever. I don't think it should just be for girls, but it could be for new players. But after like interviewing myself, like a few different girls or like, you know, minorities in the community, they felt safer being able to talk to people of the same, you know, whatever their skill level was, and oftentimes girls with girls. It was just like more comfy for them. And whatever gets people to play, I think, like, I support that. And if it's not for you, you don't have to support that. But I don't see any harm in doing that either, as we grow and change and learn. Because what that does is, it gets them into it at least. They'll spread the word. Whether or not it's for them, they'll talk about their experience and maybe somebody else gets into it. And then you see more of this and there will no longer be a need for something like women-only tournaments. And actually, you've already seen them falling off. I don't see a lot of this is only for girls kinds of things. But I also don't think it's a bad thing, you know? Because in the end, it's just encouraging more people. It's like the after-school program that I support. It's like, hey, this is something where you can discover if you like this or not. And it's just that simple. And if people knock that, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like that says more about you. Like, why not?
Just lastly, what are your views on toxic comments or sexist comments on games? I used to hold the view of just block and report, whereas other people have said to me, well, actually, Dom, you should be calling people like that out and say, hey, that's not the right way to talk to a woman or whoever it is online. What are your views on that? You know, for me, game devs aren't doing quite enough, really. They should be a bit heavier on like the ban hammer and stuff like that. What are your views there?
Well, okay. So as someone that has to be in a public appearances often, I just do not give them any attention. Like, not even a ban, because that gives them a notification that says you have been banned. And what they want is any kind of response, any kind of interaction from you. And if they get no response at all, they'll go away. Whereas like people who say like, you know, not even just positive things, but maybe innocent questions or anything that is, you know, productive, I'll respond to those. Sometimes people just want to, and like that is a reward in itself of like, I don't want to say like, oh, because I responded, but rather you can see like who I respond to and who I don't. If it's like, you know, a negative comment, I'm just going to ignore it. Because what's the point of responding to that, especially when you know how the algorithm works? If you respond to it, it gets pushed up and more people see it. And like, why would anybody want that, right? But that is online. In person, I think that if you see your friend, your brother, like family or whatever, saying things that are unsavory, you are in a position to change their mind. And I think you should use, you know, your relationship to, you know, coach them in a safer direction, for like a more welcoming direction, to not isolate certain types of people. And sometimes people don't know that. Like what I said about the whole, you know, you're not like other girls thing, that sounds innocent, but it actually is like, it makes someone think, oh, should I not be like other girls? Okay, what should I be like then? Oh, like guys. Oh, what are guys like? Oh, put people down and yell a lot. I don't know, whatever it is in the community. So it's really just, check yourselves and your like the things that you're saying. And I'm not saying like you have to be 100% PC or whatever society says you should be like, but rather make sure everybody's comfortable. No matter what background you have or they have, if someone's uncomfortable, try to learn why and look out, like just be empathetic. That's really it.
And that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day, making sure people are comfortable and treated equally and all of that stuff, and I do feel things are changing. There's a lot of friendly people here at Insomnia. So, Faye, you've given me a lot of your time, which I really appreciate. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add or any shout outs or anything else I might have missed?
At these events, I often get asked, like, how do I get started in X or Y thing? Especially because, okay, two things. Either they've never seen it before, or they've seen someone do it before and they want to know more about it. Google is your friend, but also, if you're passionate about something, just go and start doing it. And don't be afraid to fail. Because failure is part of the process, and you'll learn so much. You'll learn so much just by doing things. But of course, don't do anything that's like, I don't know, that would get you canceled. Of course, just be careful. Be careful. Yeah. But hobby-wise, go and do it. Go try something out. Try things out. Also, if you're into acting, or you want to be a voice actor, that's honestly one of my best pieces of advice too. Like, go and try things and do things, because if you have a role that has you be a waiter, or you have your heart broken, or you're feeling very angry because you just lost or something, all these experiences you had throughout your life, like let's say you're playing a video game and you lost, but they're your friend, and you have this mixture of like, I'm upset because I lost, but I also don't want to be rude to my friend. Like, that's something you might relate to, right? And you feel a little bitter, but the way you say your next words might come out differently from the next person who might not care as much about that game. And that's unique to you and your own experience. So when it comes to acting, you pull from those real experiences and put it into whatever fantasy or whatever it is, and it sounds real. It sounds real because it's coming from your own real experience. So think about that. Go do things in life. Have fun. Just be good.
100%. On that note, Faye, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much. And
thank you, Dom.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's been good to get to know you. And I guess drop Faye a follow on socials and Esports News UK. And I'll see you all soon. And a safe trip back as well.